Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. Today we'll present another great meeting and program with Tyrone Bledsoe. Before we go on, there is a card for Rotarian John Davies just outside. John is facing some challenges. If you'd like to sign that, give him your thoughts. Please sign it on the way out. It's right at the table. Also, would like to have a moment of silence for Rotarian Mike Kirby, who passed away suddenly last week. We will be having more of a tribute for Mike in a couple of weeks. So if you could please hold a moment of silence. Please stand and let's have a moment of silence for Mike. On a happier note, I want to announce that Rotarians Dan and Emily Skilleter had their little boy Mason Daniel on June 20. So congratulations to grandparents Sharon and John, who are here today. I think that deserves some applause. I'd now like to ask past President Chuck Mann to come to the podium to deliver a reflection and have Tim White lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
The first Rotary meeting of the summer, and this is called a summer blessing for families, and I'm sorry I don't know who the author is. May we make our homes places of relaxation, joy, love, peace, and safety. May we be generous and considerate, not thinking only about ourselves, but helping others enjoy the blessings of the summertime. Lord God, creator of all things, guide our steps and strengthen our hearts during these months of summer and vacation days. Grant us refreshment of mind and body. May we constantly strive to make a meaningful difference in the lives of our loved ones and in the world around us as we enjoy the warm days of summertime. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before you sit down, past President George Eistetter is going to lead us in the four-way test.
First, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Second, is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, George. You
get an A+ today.
Thank you, Chuck, Tim, and George. As we begin today's meeting, I'd like to thank and acknowledge Max Reddish with Danbury as this month's sponsor. And now, greeter Tom Wright, would you please greet our visiting Rotarians?
Thank you, President Dick. President Dick, we have two visiting Rotarians today. Visiting Rotarians, please stand as I read your name and remain standing until President Dick welcomes you. We have Dave Dennis from Reynolds Corner, he's the assistant governor. Sorry.
He's a big shot.
Okay, he is a big shot.
He's a big shot.
He's a big shot. Welcome, Dave. We also have Ken Robinson, District 6600 East Club.
Welcome, Dave and Ken. Always nice to have you here. Thanks, Tom. If anyone has a guest they would like to introduce, please come to the floor mic so we can hear you and see you clearly.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have with me today Karen Smith. She's with Mail It Corp. They're a mailing and printing company here in downtown Toledo.
Nice to have you here, Karen. Thank
you. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I have with me today Ms. Jane Weasel from Danbury Realtors.
Welcome.
President Dick, we have two students with us today. Vincent Hill who just graduated from Ashland University, and Amir Moore, who's a student at the University of Toledo.
Great. Vincent Amir, nice to have you with us. Welcome to all our guests today. I know we'll have a great program. Now would be a great time to check into social media, like Toledo Rotary on Facebook, let everyone know you are at the Toledo Rotary Monday meeting. And then I ask that you please silence your phones for the rest of today's program. If you get the Sunday paper, you probably saw in yesterday's edition a great article in the Living section about our black tie affair. Great coverage, great pictures. I'm pleased to announce that we still don't have the final figure, we're still working on it, but it looks like we made approximately $89,000 from the event. So, great job by everyone. Thanks again to Hannah Murad, who led the committee, and it was a great team effort. A couple of things coming up. We have our club assembly tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. at Parkway Place. And you should have, there are club leaders from this year, club leaders for next year. You should have been invited. And hopefully we'll see you all there. It'll be a great summary of this year. And President Tim, Executive Director Kathy will be giving their thoughts for the year ahead. Also, there is a new member reception this Wednesday, June 26th, starting at 5 p.m. at Spengler-Nathanson at 900 Adams Street, and new members have been invited to that. You don't have to be a new member to come. If you'd like to come as an existing member, veteran member, you're more than welcome to come tomorrow between 5 and 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. At this time, I'd like to have Bob Savage come up to give us an announcement from the program committee.
Thanks, President Dick. Good afternoon, everyone. I am the incoming chair to the program committee, and Stephanie Coleman is vice chair starting next year. Is Stephanie here today? I didn't see. Yes. So there you are, in the back. Couldn't see all the way back there. I know there's a lot of people here, and I probably don't know everybody, even though I've been here 20 plus years. But so just a couple things quick on the program committee. One, when incoming President Tim asked me to be chair of the program committee, the one thing I asked for was the list of who was on the program committee. And for those I've been on the committee for quite some time. Those of us have been on it. It's got a pretty loyal following of folks who show up. It probably gets 20, 25 people there every time it meets. But I was surprised that the list has over 50 people on it. So a little bit of plug for all committees. If you're going to be on a committee, be active in the committee. And it's fine to rotate off committees. I've switched committees. I'm sure most of you have been here for a while have. So, one, I want to explain, and this for those of us who have been around here for a while, maybe this isn't new, but I know that there are lots of new folks here who don't know exactly how things work. As a matter of fact, even though I've been on the committee, I asked the question when I was agreed to take this spot. So how does someone actually get scheduled? Like, who do we go to and who do we talk to? So the programs are determined. Someone sends in a suggestion to either someone on the program committee or Katie or Kathy that someone be nominated to speak. People are allowed to nominate themselves, but I'll be honest, the people who nominate themselves are very rarely approved by the committee to come up here and speak, and we do get a number of those suggestions, as you might guess. So if you or somebody you know is going to be nominated, make sure, someone else is recommending them, and we usually also ask that someone has seen them speak. Because we've got a lot of people here. I hope you've all agreed that the presentations over the last 5 years have gotten even better than they were before, and we want to keep up the quality here. There's probably a little bit of variance on why people join Rotary or come to Rotary, and our priorities are a little bit different. But speakers are high on the list. A number of people would say it's number one, not everybody, and that's fine. But then, so once the speakers are nominated, we take them to the committee, and the committee then votes on whether they're approved or not. and then we work to schedule them in. And to be honest, scheduling isn't necessarily all that easy, and Kathy could tell you loads about that. We're several months out. Stephanie, you'll be glad to know it's even more months out than when we talked 10 days ago. And actually, we have a list of certainly north of a dozen, probably 20 people who have been approved, but they just haven't been scheduled yet either. And that's one of the things we look to work through. But the committee needs to approve somebody before they end up speaking. The exception to that is this year, President Dick, and next year, President Tim. I think you guys get 2 speakers apiece or somewhere thereabouts. They don't have to ask us. They just get to put those people on the podium. So I have 2 asks here today. One, you certainly do not need to be on the program committee to nominate a speaker. And one of the great things about our group and all the people in it who do all sorts of different things for your job and your livelihood and what you've done in past lives and your family, we know a lot of people in this room. From CEOs to most of the big companies around here. There is someone, I don't know if he's sitting in this room today, he has an immediate family member who's a pretty accomplished musician and filled up Stranahan Hall, having nothing to do with the fact that he's from Toledo, just people wanted to buy those tickets. And think about who might be an interesting speaker, and please send an email to myself or Kathy or Katie or Stephanie. My email, and you can probably look it up, it's relatively easy to remember, it's just bob@savageconsulting.com. We'd love to hear the suggestions. The other request is we'd be glad to have new members on the program committee, and I'll target a little bit. The other thing that surprised me when I looked at the list, not that there were 50 plus members on it was just over 50, is that I and Stephanie, and even though she probably looks younger than me, she's really not, we were, I said you look younger.
Your former co-chair?
We are about the youngest people on the program committee. So there are a bunch of new folks out here, and I've reached out to 1 or 2 already. I've literally not done very much of that. We'd be glad to have some of the more younger folks on the committee as well, and always glad to have more good people. So we look forward to putting on more good programs, look forward to having everybody's help in doing that. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Well, I just got a quick text, and there may be an opening for the co-chair of that committee now. I'd now like to have our executive director, Kathy Tate, say a few words.
That was pretty good. That was good. Just to piggyback on Bob's comment, because I'm going to go right into that, the programs are probably what most members have the most connection to on Mondays. And so I'm going to go into that. On the tables, there's a committee selection form, and it's that time of year again when we ask for you to update this. The good news is you can do this online now. So I'm just giving you these. You can do a paper if you prefer, but committees are not automatically rolled over into the next year. And for the program committee, again, fresh faces on all committees provide new ideas. So I would encourage you to update that committee form. Walt, could you put that slide up that it's on our website, and I just want to direct you to it because and I believe it's the next slide, but again, across the top, this is our homepage at ToledoRotary.org, and you can just go to the member drop-down, and Walt has circled it there. There's a committee selection form. I also want to say, if you sign up for a committee and you get going on it and you're like, they meet too much, or this just isn't for me, all you have to do is let us know, and we'll happily change that for you. And if you want to just try out a committee and then sign up, that's okay too. I know many of you have been updating your information on the website, which is critical to the new year, and Katie's made it real simple to, I think at least the emails I'm getting, you just have to add, you just have to click. I'm not sure exactly, but I know this is part of it. It's in that same drop-down where you can update your roster information, and that's just going to be real important. So the next thing and the last, I'm going to lead into two things. On July 15th And July 22nd, we will have a photographer here, which we did in 2012. And if you would like a new headshot for next year's directory, this doesn't cost you anything. You just show up, probably have he or she set up in that corner out there. They'll take a great new picture of you, and then they'll give it to us, and then we'll upload it. So if you would like to participate in that, again, it's July 15th, July 22nd. Arrive at Rotary early. They probably do it a little bit before the meeting, a little bit after the meeting, and you'll have a brand new picture. So I would really like to encourage that. And then I want to tell you about, there's the whole sliced bread thing. So the best thing, all these things lead up to the best thing since sliced bread, and I'm not kidding. And that is this new directory. So all these things that you're doing, I mentioned this last week, but truly, and on your tables, I'm not sure how many are on each table, but there's this little form, because right now this thing is selling like hotcakes. So I would just encourage you to call me. I had another one today, but I think it's updated. The back is sold, the inside front, the inside back. The members tab is completely sold front and back. All of them will be visited. I think the officers and the committees is another one, but the pricing is on there. And so once we get all this information assimilated, we will have this directory. It is my hope that you would have it maybe by the end of August, which is maybe the earliest we've ever done, but it's used over and over again. It's used by every single member in the club, and every single new member who comes into the club receives one of these. So let me know if you have any questions, or you just want to call and submit your ad and say you want that space. Thank you. Thanks, President Dick.
Thank you, Kathy. Well, we're coming to the end of the Rotary year, and so today we want to celebrate some Rotarians. We're going to be celebrating perfect attenders, people who've hit milestones of years of service, and some of our newer members also. So with each category, I'm going to announce some names, ask you to stand up if you are present, and I ask that you hold your applause until we get through each list. So recognizing those with perfect attendance, we have Dennis Isabel, 8 years. Please hold your applause till we're done with the perfect attenders. John Nelson, 8 years. Bob Harold, 26 years. Craig Roberts, 30 years. Past President Brad Rubini, 34 years. Past President R.C. Young, 41 years. Dean Roberts, 45 years. Bob Reichert, 49 years. And past President Walt Churchill, 60 years. Congratulations. You should have received a pin on your way in. If you did not, please see Katie at the table outside the door for your pin for perfect attendance. The next category are years of service with our club, hitting certain milestones, 5 years. Again, with each group, please hold your applause. For 5 years, we have Ed Caldwell, Sean Cree, Kevin Dalton, Dave DeManna, Gene Dries, Romulus Durant, Erwin Effler, Simon Gow, Sam Hammonds, Lori Hauser, Steve Johnson, David Kreinkamp, James Lehman, and Susan Palmer. If you would please stand if you're here. Congratulations. Again, as we go to 10 years, if you hear your name, please stand, and we'll wait to recognize all of you. John W. Blow, John H. Boggs, Pamela S. Hirschberger, Jennifer Hildebrand, John P. Hollister, Craig Hopple, Louise Jackson, Ivan Jaffe, Holly Jensen, Tom Cabot, Douglas Kearns, John Kenzel, William Kep Jr., Patrick J. Kenny, Robert L. Maxwell, Stephen Miller, Judy Potter, past President Sharon Skilleter, and Joe Zevick. Congratulations. Our 15-year members, Keith Burwell, Alan Clifford, Glenn Fitkin, Wendy Gramza, Joe Lazar, Mark Miller, and Greg Steenrod. Congratulations. 20 years, Gary Brown, Dick Feist, Jim Jeffrey, Julia Faulkner Peklivanos. Okay, 25 years, getting serious here. Willis Day, the fourth, Doug Heilman, Judd Johnson, Bill McElhaney, Mario Procaccini, Steve Scutch, Steve Stalen, Steve Taylor, Thomas Euler, and David Waterman. "30 years, Robert Brown, Ernie Brookfield, Derek Leck, past President Sue Martin, Ken Kuhlman, Craig Roberts, and past President Hunt Sears. 45 years, past President Ben Dansard, Ken Heilman, and Dean Roberts. 60 years, past President Dick Anderson and past President Walt Churchill. And 65 years, and unfortunately he could not be with us today, past President Clint Mock. Again, if you did not receive your recognition pins when you came in, Katie will have them at the table right outside when you leave. And now something we like to do at least every 6 months is recognize our new members so they can do their badge change from the red new member to the white regular member. I'll announce all these names. Please hold your applause. If you're here, please stand. James Barron, Ryan Beckstead, Chris Crystal, Vince Davis, Gonzalo del Castillo Araspide, Dan Ebert, Shanda Gore, Brian Houston, Katie McDougall, Doug Mead, David Muller, Kate Nelson, Bill Scott, Fadi Sabani, Drew Snell, David Thies, Jordan Valdiviez, Lisa Wagner, James Widener, Maria White, and Tom Wright. Congratulations. A lot of great new members. At this time, it is my distinct pleasure to present a special Rotary International Major Donor Award to my friend and President-elect Tim Ryan. The mission of the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International is to support the efforts of Rotary International in the fulfillment of the object of Rotary, Rotary International's mission, and the achievement of world understanding and peace through local, national, and international humanitarian, educational, and cultural programs. The programs of the Rotary Foundation include an array of projects that save and invigorate the lives of people around the world and enhance international friendship and understanding. Foundation programs provide food, potable water, health care, immunizations, shelter, and educational opportunities for millions of persons. Differentiating Rotary from many other organizations, these activities are funded, implemented, and managed by Rotarians and Rotary clubs around the globe. We have long recognized Rotarians who contribute to the Rotary Foundation, the arm of Rotary International, which receives and disburses funds that support our cause of increasing world understanding and peace. We recognize them in many ways. As you may know, those whose contributions total $1,000 are recognized as Paul Harris Fellows in honor of Rotary's founder. And we present them with a certificate, a special pin, and a medallion. We now have over 1 million Paul Harris Fellows. Becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, however, is a milestone, not a destination. We ask those who become Paul Harris Fellows to continue supporting the Rotary Foundation, and we recognize them as major donors at such time as they contribute a total of $10,000 to the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International. Our club has 5 members who have been previously recognized for such contributions. At such time, they are recognized as major donors with a pin with a diamond and a special crystal. Our support of the Rotary Foundation makes possible group study exchanges, ambassadorial scholarships, world peace scholarships, and for the last many years, the effort to eradicate polio. Today, we have the privilege of recognizing President-elect Tim Ryan for his wonderful support of the Rotary Foundation as a major donor. Tim, your contributions to the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International are allaying suffering, improving living conditions, and providing educational opportunities for young people throughout the world. Your gifts are truly selfless actions and demonstrate your commitment to our common goals of world understanding and peace. Therefore, on behalf of the President of Rotary International and the Chairman of the Trustees of the Rotary Foundation and our club, the Rotary Club of Toledo, it gives me great pleasure to present you, Tim, these items in appreciation of your generous contributions to the Rotary Foundation. Please stand and help me honor an outstanding example of a Rotarian.
Before you guys sit down, can we do that a little more? Actually, I'm humbled by this award and recognition. I know that I'm expected to thank everyone in the room, and I don't know that I'm wanting to do that exactly. You know, it's a wonderful recognition and appreciation, but I'm a little uncomfortable with it. And the reason is I think it should be redirected. I think it should be redirected to you and to the 1.2 million Rotary members around the world that do so much. In many ways, it's the Rotary International Foundation that binds all of us together, all 1.2 million of us. It's the Rotary Foundation that allows us, through our giving, to leverage our management expertise, which is considerable, of course, our money and our voices, to the problems that plague humanity. We deal with human misery, and we solve at least some of the problems. The reality is I can't fix polio. I can't improve education everywhere. We would all like to do that. The water problems on the planet seem insurmountable, as does the violence and the infant maternal mortality. I can't fix that by myself. If I could, I would. But we can, through an organization like Rotary International and its foundation. When we give anything to the foundation, we move from the category of people that are just whiners and complainers about the problems in this world to people that solve problems. And for that reason, I would like to turn it around and thank you and Rotary for all of the things that are being done through the foundation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim. Again, congratulations. Now I'd like to invite Rotarian Brent Kuzno to the podium to introduce today's speaker.
Thank you, President Dick. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Tyrone Bledsoe. Dr. Bledsoe is an educator with more than 30 years of post-secondary education experience. He's founder and the current CEO of the Student African American Brotherhood, which is a national organization with over 355 chapters in 41 states. They endeavor to instill a spirit of care in and enhance the experiences of African American and Latino males in our country. Saab operates through student chapters where young men of color enjoy social, cultural, and spiritual enrichment. Saab increases the number of young men graduating from college by creating a positive peer community. In addition to a long list of recognitions for his work over the years, Dr. Bledsoe was invited to the White House in 2016 to receive the Presidential Service Volunteer Award for his innovation with Saab as a best practice in the country, coupled with Saab's impact to communities across the country. Before transitioning full-time to his role at Saab, Dr. Bledsoe served as Vice President for Student Life and Special Assistant to the President at the University of Toledo. Tyrone is a member and past president of the Rotary Club of Reynolds Corners. He's also a Paul Harris Fellow. Please welcome Dr. Ty Bledsoe.
Right, good afternoon. Okay, I'm from Mississippi. Let's do that again. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, let me get my bodyguards up here. Vince Hill. Let's welcome Vince and Amir Moore, the two students joining me. I spoke to a football camp, the Dr. Cornell Smith football camp on Friday at Scott High School, and we were out on the football field, and I didn't wear a cap, and it cooked my head. So I have a good tan, don't I? Yeah, so, but yeah, certainly a pleasure. Let me thank, first of all, President Dick for sharing the podium. I want to thank my good friend Brent. We met through, where's Ed Caldwell? Ed, we're on the nominating committee for the Boy Scouts. Let's give those two guys a big round of applause for just having me up here. Also, I don't know if Deb Cheney's here or Doe, former district governors, but they are partly the reason I was able to get the honor in the Rotarian magazine. So I don't think they're here, but Doe was very adamant about my group being, featured in the magazine. So we really appreciate that, and I'll thank them again when I see them. I want to thank Dave Dennis. Where's Dave? Give Dave some Rotary love, Dave Dennis. Dave is our Assistant District Governor, Area 3, and also a member of Renters Corners Rotary. There are a number of individuals in this room who make up at our club. I see a few. Mark Ureta, where's Mark? I saw Mark. There's Mark, and Nelson Schaefer, certainly Ken Robinson was there recently, and RC, and Craig, and Brad, and Dean, and someone else. Yeah, that was pretty much it that I saw. I may have missed some people, but they come to enjoy the pie, so we appreciate them coming over. The Smucker's Pie. All right, certainly we are very pleased to be here. I want to talk a little about, I'll move through this quickly because I want to get to these guys behind me so they can tell you their story and talk a little bit about what we do. But this slide speaks to the fact that we're an organization that helps these young men create a culture of success for themselves, where we use the students as youth activators, student activators, to create their own success. And they're a big part of what we do. This is what was in the Rotarian magazine. We actually had the writer from RI. They called me. I was really shocked. I thought it was a joke when they said they were going to feature me in the Rotarian. And they said, well, we want to come to Toledo and interview you. I said, well, we're about to do a retreat in Dallas, Texas with about 30 of my guys. Why don't you send a writer there? And that's the story, to talk to the guys. And the writer did come and spend a weekend with us, and that's where the story came from. But what I'm particularly moved by is Paul Smith is one of our members in our club. And Paul, if you read this statement, Paul said the 90th anniversary was just passed in January for Dr. King. He truly believed that Dr. King was looking down and thinking that Saab, providing quantum contributions to males of color in our country, perhaps that I'm one of the persons who's the closest to reaching or fulfilling Dr. King's philosophy. Give it up for Paul Smith. I really appreciate those comments. I was very humbling to have Paul give that quote. Let me get right into it. So this picture, you see Dr. King with some kids in the street. You can Google this photo, actually. Just go to Google and put in Dr. King, Civil Rights Movement, Grenada, my hometown, Grenada, Mississippi. And who you see in front here are two students. I know them well because they're my classmates. Dr. King is in my hometown, so real quickly, the context, and I could do a whole 2-hour presentation on this, but for the sake of time, the context of this photo is the only photo you'll see Dr. King with kids who are not his own kids, and those kids are us. And so he's in town. This is 1968, actually, before he was assassinated. My hometown, if you've been to Grenada, it's only about an hour from Memphis. My church was Dr. King headquarters when he would be in Mississippi, Bellflower Missionary Baptist Church, and I'll show you that in a second. But this picture is particularly powerful because my brother my twin brother. And I have a twin brother. Some of y'all have met my twin. He doesn't look quite as good as I do, but my mother said we're identical. But anyway, you'll get that later. But we're in the line with these kids because Dr. King and the civil rights leader, you also see Andrew Young in this picture. They're taking us to school. This was the first time we would be in the same classroom with whites. We would ride the bus with whites. And the KKK launched levied an attack on black kids. So if we showed up at these schools, they were going to attack us. So Dr. King took us to school. That's the power of that picture. Give it up for that photo. It's a very powerful photo. This picture here, real quickly, is Dr. King the last time we would see him in my church, my little church that I grew up in. My twin brother and I were born at home. My mom did not know she was having twins. Ouch. And so my dad said she was hysterical. I came first, my brother 3 minutes later, and we lived 400 yards down the street from this church. So we saw Dr. King all the time. Even in our Sunday school class, we would see Dr. King. My dad was particularly adamant about where we sat in church, which played out in the classroom as well. So my dad, 7th grade education, worked at a plant killing cows so we can enjoy steaks at Outback, and I told that story very well. Dad was adamant about my brothers dressing up, wearing ties, and you're going to church. And where do you think you're going to sit? Up front. So the picture, you go back, Walt, to that picture of Dr. King at the podium. We're sitting up front on the front pew because my dad was adamant about sit up front. Everywhere you go, you show up front, in the classroom, et cetera. So that's the power of that picture. That's the last time we would see Dr. King. Shortly thereafter, he would be assassinated, which was pretty powerful for us as kids because we were only 7. So you can imagine. So I had a faculty member in North Carolina ask me, he said, Dr. Bledsoe, what emotion do you most associate with when you think of this experience? I said, we were scared. We were 7 years old. So we were just little kids just trying to figure this out. So I'm writing a book called The Fear of Hope because I was a fearful 7-year-old growing up in Mississippi, experiencing protests and unrest, et cetera, and couldn't make meaning with it. So that was pretty powerful. This is my staff. Vince, I don't know if you're on this picture, but this is staff. Give it up for my staff. These guys are all around the country. They look good. Someone complimented these guys. I said, well, you have to look good to roll with me. So they have to wear suits and ties. So we teach them that. And a lot of guys don't want to wear ties and don't appreciate suits. They don't have fathers and grandfathers who modeled that for them. So they don't appreciate the power of a tie, the image, et cetera. So we have to teach them that. We have to get them to that point. Vince is going to talk about that process. Actually, this is our first national conference in 2004 in this hotel. So I've spoken a lot in this ballroom. So Walt was trying to tell me about the room. I said, Walt, I already know this room. But we did a lot of work here in Toledo, started our conferences here, brought people from all around the country to our great city here in Toledo. So the conversation about Saab, perpetual challenge, is what do we do with our young men who are not engaged? And everybody's a part of the conversation. That's why I'm so grateful that the article happened in September, went around the world, and I got more calls and emails from people in countries I never heard of. I actually had a young man from Africa wanted me to adopt him. It was just amazing, the exposure we received in the Rotarian magazine. And I've since then talked with RI staff, and they said, you've gotten more hits and more, comments and feedback from your article than we've probably seen in a long time. So we're very grateful for that. But this conversation is really about these young men in our country. And we work with young men of all races, ethnicity, et cetera. And we're going to talk about that as well. Here's our problem, a force of inequality. We think that the retiring us generation is better educated than the replacement generation. That's pretty powerful for our country. Our young men, our millennials, we're more educated as the replacement, as the current us than the replacement us. And that's pretty concerning for our country. Education is the most important counterweight on the social justice scale. We spend a lot of time talking about that as well. John Wilson's a good friend of mine. He does a lot around social mobility. And we do a lot with first-generation students, young men in particular. We have some young ladies in our program as well, but a very diverse group of students. And these are the students who are likely coming from undeveloped areas, who have not had former education, or coming from rural areas. This program was actually started in a very rural area, South Georgia Southwestern College, which was Jimmy Carter's, President Carter's alma mater. And so we do a lot with first generation, but all students are welcome to our program. Our participants, we're very intentional about these young men and their experience. They help to create the plans, the experiences, even from the middle school up. We work with middle school, high school, 2- and 4-year colleges, and work with these guys beyond education when they get out in the real world of work. So I'm moving pretty quickly for the sake of time, but we're gonna let Amir talk about who we are. Let's welcome Amir Moore.
Hello. Who is Saab? Saab is a culturally sensitive, school-based, student-driven intervention. Saab is not only a brotherhood, Saab is not only a family, but Saab allows for young men to be accountable for each other's actions. And most importantly, we help each other graduate.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to change that. I'm waiting on Walt.
Diversity in Saab. Saab's membership is very diverse beyond African Americans. Some chapters have non-African American and Latinos students, including Asians, whites, Native Americans, and other ethnic identities. Brother to Brother is also another name we go by. It allows Saab to not only reach African Americans, but to reach other ethnicities. And this is B2B is another name for students, for institutions to use at their institutions. This is very important. Primary reasons males of color don't persist to graduate. Academic, they don't have the lack and stability to study. They don't have the lack and ability to go to class. They get low grades. Financial aid, scholarships, and other deficiencies. Engagement, students do not feel included at these institutions. So that's why Saab is so important, for students to really feel engaged and feel important at their universities.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Vincent Hill. I'm a recent graduate of Ashland University. I'll be moving to Columbus next month to start my master's at Ohio State. Can we go to the slide? Oh, sorry. All right, so this is the Saab experience. This is a system that Dr. Bledsoe created over the years to kind of summarize the experience that individuals have while in Saab. So the first thing is creating a culture. So students come to Saab to create a culture of caring, to be involved with that. Next, I can't read that word, shape their values. So shaping their values, this goes to the character piece. While involved with Saab, you're surrounded by a lot of other like-minded individuals that are, did we skip a slide? We skipped a slide.
No, just do that one.
All right, so they come to Saab to, gain their values that are centered around character, their moral compass as well. This goes to forming their beliefs. So they gain a self-belief in themselves that they're able to be successful. They're given these skills to have the confidence in themselves that they can do more, that they can achieve academically, socially, in all areas of life as well. And this goes to transforming their behaviors. So this increases their graduation rates. Amir talked about it a little bit earlier about the 3 parts where students are not able to graduate. It goes to the retention piece. Students are involved in a system or an organization where the members really care about them. They care about them. They hold them accountable a lot of different areas. If we go back to 2 more slides real quick. This is a picture from, I believe, almost 10 years ago with me and some other social consultants in the organization. And the late Nipsey Hussle, who's a community activist in LA who was shot down a few months ago, he says, if you look at your circle and you're not inspired, it's not a circle, it's a cage. And I truly believe in that. If you surround yourself with like-minded individuals that want more, that want you to succeed and hold you accountable, I think that's huge. I believe that you should never want to be complacent in life, no matter if you're young or a more seasoned individual. Always wanting to get to that next step or a next promotion or create something in society that makes a lasting impact for all. I think that's huge. Here, it talks about how Saab creates a campus climate. Again, going back to the accountability piece, Saab really creates an inclusive environment for students of color or males on a college campus. I went to a predominantly white institution, and students that were of color that came from inner city areas, it was a culture shock for them coming to that city. But an organization such as Saab, they see people that look like them, that are trying to go in the same direction and be successful and do more in life. And that really helps them want to stay there for all 4 years and get that degree, just because it's like a competitive, like we have fun with it. We have challenges where I remember in high school when I was in Saab, we would have competitions on who had the highest GPA. And that's not very common, but we made fun with it and say, oh, you only had a 3.8? Well, I had a 4.0 this semester, and then we compete every semester, so that was huge for us. And then lastly, Saab also helps with the intangibles, wanting to be more responsible. It helps you with time management, things that may seem very common and, these are things that you should have, but a lot of males will come to the organization not knowing things like arriving 10 minutes early, how to dress professionally. These are different skills that we teach our members, and they leave Saab as alumni more equipped in the workforce, and it's a pipeline. So I had people like Doc in my life, Dr. Bledsoe, who fed into me, and now it's next to the next generation. So Saab has been a huge impact in my life for 10 years now, so thank you.
All right. So real quickly, just to give an example, when an institution calls us, we just had the University of California at Riverside. We're going to be onboarding them next month. We look at, and they're having a conversation around retention, graduation, and getting these young men engaged. And this is what this program does. So this is an example of a campus before they had our program. So this would be pre-Saab, looking at Latino and Black male data and looking at a 6-year graduation rate. So you see quickly how many young men, Latino, graduated percentage-wise, looking at 30%. Same institution for Black males. If I can get it going, let's do that. No, this is post, I'm sorry. This is for, you see at the bottom, only 1 out of 10. That same institution. After getting, we onboarded Saab, looking at their data, 7 years later, this is what they experienced at that institution. So you can see the needle moved for their Latino male, and certainly for our African American male, you can see 4 times that. So this is what we do, and this is what the institution called me. We don't actually push this program on any institution or school district. Actually, Amir's mom is the president of school board for Trotwood-Madison School District, City Schools, I think it's called, in the Dayton area. So we'll be starting their district in August. We just talked with the superintendents on Thursday. So this is an example of what we do. I just want to get a feel for this program. This is actually Vince. He insisted I put this picture in here. So he just graduated from Masters. Give it up for Vince one more time. I try to make as many of our guys' graduations, so a lot of people who follow me on Facebook, Nelson and Ed and others, Mark, you see I'm always traveling, going to graduation, going to support these guys. Vince has been with us since he was probably 12, and he's traveled all over the country with me, as you can probably tell just with him presenting and being comfortable in front of you. So we're very proud of Vince. And as we move here, we talk about this, we invest in those things we care about, and most average young men or even young women, they just want someone to care about them. And you'll hear me talk more about that as I move on. Nelson Mandela, I love this quote, our society needs to reestablish a culture of caring. So we talk about it takes a village to raise a child. That's the village I grew up in Mississippi. Many of us probably experienced that. And that's what these young men are looking for. Just on Friday, I was speaking to these kids, about 100 kids at the camp on Friday. And so I asked them, what's on your mind? And I get to this one 12-year-old, and I was telling Vince in the truck as we were driving here, and the little kid named Timothy, 12 years old, he said, I'm just trying to find my dad. Like, wow. I'm just trying to find my dad. I'm like, what? Well, where's your dad? He said, I don't know. I think he's somewhere in Toledo. Because he's looking to be validated by his dad. That's the kind of stuff we do with these young men. So they can't be effective in the classroom when they're burdened with all of these other issues. This is one of our young men in Chicago. We have Northern Illinois, it's one of our very stellar programs. This is one of the service projects they do in terms of literacy. And again, we work with all young men. The first white male in our program is from Chicago. He's a counselor working at a high school. His name is David. And David joined our program, and he came up to me, he said, Doc, I need love too. He said, I know I'm white, but I need love too. I said, okay, Dave. And so that kind of had us begin to think about this works for everyone. And so we have everyone in this program. We're very proud of that. We're about to celebrate 30 years next year. Give it up for 30 years. We're going to celebrate. I started this work back in 1990. I was like 9 years old. And, and so we're going to be celebrating in Dallas, Texas next year. We identified a nice country club. Our Alumni Association has been headed up by our president, young man from San Diego State. There's another awesome chapter. He graduated from Harvard just a couple years ago, Jordan Harrison. He just texted me since I've been here working on some things for this thing next year. But we're going to look to celebrate next year with the people in Dallas. Walt was just talking about Halle Berry. Halle Berry is a good friend of our program. She came and hung out with us, what was that, about 3-4 years ago, and hung out a weekend with us in Detroit. We had our national conference there. And Halle said, I've heard about your program, but I want to come see it for myself. And we said, sure, come on down. And the guys kept their composure. They focused on their sessions. And but Halle was with us. She was great. She hung out with us the entire weekend, wouldn't let me pay for nothing, or food, or sweet, or nothing. And she was just awesome, and we are very good friends. I know exactly where she lives in LA. So anyway, let's close out with the greatest values in life. I'll do the left side, you do the right side, and I'll get out of your way. The greatest handicap? The best day? Hardest thing to do? Easiest thing to do? Most useless asset? Most useful asset? The greatest mistake? The greatest stumbling block? Greatest comfort? Worst bankruptcy? Greatest need? Meanest feeling? Best gift? And greatest success? Self-fulfillment and peace of mind. Thank you so much. This is our contact information. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, Brent. Thank you.
They may want to ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure.
We're here for questions. We have a couple of minutes, I think. If anyone has any questions, we'd be glad to entertain the floor. You got one? Okay.
Hi, Prof. Does the organization promote, promote civic engagement, specifically voting?
Without a doubt. And so you probably saw there was a slide that spoke to social justice. We're not faith-based, and we're very careful about what our young men are involved in. Remember, we're middle school, high school, 2- and 4-year colleges, but certainly our guys are definitely encouraged to get involved not only in their school, but outside in their communities as well. So civic engagement is one of those data points that we do track and measure around to see how much our guys were involved before they joined our program, and certainly their involvement as they're going through the experience. So good question, and I appreciate that. Any other question? Can we take up an offering now? No, I'm just joking. All right, we're going to get out of your way. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ty, and Vince and Amir. Thank you all for this great presentation. Ty, for being here today and presenting your program. We're going to make a donation in your honor. Our foundation will be making a donation to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund to honor you. We also have this book about Toledo history. Hope you don't have that already, but that's a gift from us for you being here today. Thank you again. Please join us next week for the changing of the guard, when the club presidency will be turned over to President-elect Tim Ryan. And yeah, we'll be sporting those. We'll be looking good. And we'll induct 3 new board members and a new member of the foundation. Following today's program, the Water Services Committee is in the Waynesfield room, and the Black Tie Affair Steering Committee is in the Eagle Point room. And now, the incomparable and always stunning Chuck Mann.
Very comparable. Troop 87 went to summer camp, left yesterday, spending their first day at summer camp today, 22 boys. How many people went to a summer camp? Lots of people went. All right, then maybe you can identify with this, and if you can or can't, I'm sorry. This is the letter from a son to his mom. Dear Mom, good you packed extra underwear since I had bad diarrhea. I got it on my shoes, but not on my pillow. I'm having fun at camp and learning stuff. I rock at windsurfing and kayaking. I've ate more push-pops than anyone. I've ate 23 since Monday. Still 2 days left. 37 is the record, and I can beat it. Sweet. I went horseback riding, and the horse in front of me took 3 huge dumps. Smoke came off the poop. It was awesome. I used my toothbrush to dig for worms. Don't freak out, the guy in the bottom bunk lets me use his. It's safe. I don't know his name, but he can burp the alphabet like me. A kid named Zach can burp the alphabet backwards. I'm practicing that. We put oatmeal in the counselor's baseball hat. It was pretty funny. Oatmeal is bad, Mom, even with raisins. I shot a rifle. I'm a good aimer. Can we get one when I get home? Did you know you can light farts on fire? I'll show you on Saturday. Love, W. P.S. Your spaghetti is way better. P.S.S. Tell my brothers to have lots of farts for Saturday.
Thank you, Chuck. Well, I hope you all have a great week. Remember to be servants out there so we can continue to be the inspiration. We are adjourned. Thank you again so much. Great program.